union work at which highly skilled workers labored and earned a living wage and health benefits. At the time, the International Ladies Garment Workers Union was one of the largest unions in the U.S. Today, it is no longer cheaper to make your own clothes than to buy them. A task that once fell within the province of the ordinary household is now an esoteric hobby, requiring skills out of reach to most ordinary Americans. It can even be cost prohibitive, since to buy the cloth to make a shirt will often cost more than the price of a new shirt, a curious reversal. Ralph Tharp, the former design engineer at Cone Mills in North Carolina and the man responsible for making denim for Levi's 501s during the 1970s, put the question to me this way. Why is it that from 1960 to today, the price of a Ford truck has increased 10 times over, and the price of a pair of dungarees has stayed the same? This question becomes even more puzzling when one considers that many mass manufacturing processes have been automated since the 1960s, but sewing is not one of them. The process one follows to sew a garment has not changed materially since the advent of the sewing machine. Fabric is a fussy and unpredictable material, unlike sheet metal, that still requires the subtle manipulation of tension that can only be done by a real human hand. How, then, did this happen? If it were possible to travel back in time 500 years, we would be dazzled by the beauty and diversity of the clothing that people made and wore. We would see weeple woven of hand-spun cotton dyed with cochineal, silk kimono, shibori dyed using indigo, hege dresses made of salmon skin, Kuba textiles woven from palm leaf fiber, embroidered with complex geometric patterns and stained red with dye from the heartwood of a tropical tree, and Russian peasant shifts made from linen, embroidered with threads dyed a deep mauve using local lichen. We would see the flora and fauna of thousands of microenvironments transformed into cloth, like the scratchy wool of the Herdwick sheep, which thrive on the rocky terrain of the Cumbrian fells of northern England, perfect for the local tweed. The colors of the clothes were drawn from lichen, shells, bark, indigo, saffron, roots, beetles. The fabric constructions and patterns themselves were astonishing, containing special regional weaves and knits, number magic, protective prayers, and clan symbols, collectively honed motifs and individual flourishes. This localism coexisted with trade, and a type of small-scale textile manufacturing thrived among every group of agriculturalists across the world. In our present world, whether we traveled to England or Russia, China or Mexico, Kenya or Uruguay, we would see t-shirts, jeans, jackets, and skirts made predominantly of two materials, cotton and petroleum. At the same time, the system of production responsible for making all these clothes has everywhere become more extractive, centralized, and concentrated among a few megacorporations. In 2019, global retail sales of apparel and footwear reached $1.9 trillion. That's more than double that year's global sales of consumer electronics and 4 times global arms sales. Meanwhile, Nike's market capitalization is more than 4 times that of the Ford Motor Company. And what had once been the world's most common and widely distributed popular art, making textiles, has almost disappeared from the hands of the artisan. In the pre-industrial period, anthropologists estimate humans devoted at least as many labor hours to making cloth as they devoted to producing food. It is almost impossible to overstate how enormous the change was in the daily rhythm when textile work disappeared from everyday life and moved into the factory. The worlds on either side of this schism differed from one another completely, or at least as much as the 2 different kinds of cloth. The contemporary clothing trade may be valuable, but the clothes produced are not. Between 2000 and 2014, clothing production around the world doubled. This was possible because clothing had become almost completely disposable. Over the course of this almost 15-year period, consumers came to buy, on average, 60% more clothes than they used.